Hey, everybody, this is Dave Dubeau here with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Today, zooming in from Colorado, but originally based in Florida, we've got our special guest, Mr. Jason Palliser, who is a very, very experienced real estate entrepreneur and trainer. And what I'm thrilled to be talking with Jason about here today is his methods of generating off-market leads, right? So everybody knows about working with realtors and everybody knows about scouring the MLS. And that's not where the deals are, folks. The deals are all about generating your own leads with ideally motivated sellers. So Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, happy to be here from Colorado, skiing in Breckenridge.
Nice place to be skiing, that's for sure. All right. So Jason, just very briefly, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about how you got into this wild and wonderful world of real estate investing, and then how you dialed it in when it comes to generating leads.
Okay, yeah. So a little bit of a background on me is that for 26 years and counting, I've been doing investment specialty funding, private funding. So investors all over the U.S. will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm having problems getting some deals funded," and they would come to me. So after about 3 years of doing that, and realizing, wow, I do have a specialty in this and people are coming to me, then I decided to start investing myself. And so for 23 years, I've been investing. And about that same time, I had some bigger companies come to us, TV show representatives on real estate saying, "Hey, we heard you're good at funding, but then we also heard that you're good at getting off market leads." So what happened is that a few of them asked me to create some courses around it, and then they would train people, and I would go and train people on how do you get to the good deals first. And from there, it just kind of grew and grew and grew to the point to where some bigger institutional money or hedge fund level players said, "Hey, we heard you can suffocate a city 34 ways. So can you do that for us? We need 1,000 homes in 48 months, 2,000 homes in 60 months. And so what we did was build what we call a 2-day blueprint, where we just go after cities off market. And so I've been doing that for 15, 16 years now. And so basically people come to our organization and say, "Hey, I don't want to do the same 5 things that everybody else does. Show us a better way to do this and how to do it without a budget." So that's why people come to us.
So what did this look like for you personally, Jason, way back in the day when you first, 21 years ago or what have you, when you first started doing your own deals? What did lead generation look like for you at the very beginning? What were you doing to generate these off-market leads?
Yeah, so in the beginning, I was doing what most, I was good at the investment funding side, and all these investors would come to me, and I got tired of leaving, setting up funding for them and making $3,000 on a transaction, and they're walking out with 50. So I started to invest myself. But once I threw my hat in the ring, I realized that I need to find different ways to get to the property faster than everybody else. Because what I was doing was working with realtors or working with other investors, which I found out later on, in a year or two in, that they were wholesalers. They're like, "Hey, Jason, I do some deals, but I got some opportunities." And so I was buying from wholesalers, what a lot of people were doing, right? And I went after pre-foreclosures, a few of the staple ones that people do. They go after vacant houses, pre-foreclosures. And so that's how I started. And what I found was that the harder I worked at finding different ways to get in front of sellers that had some level of motivation that were outside the norm, the bigger the equity on a property that we kept for cash flow, or the bigger the spread when we became a solution for a homeowner and then we fixed and flipped the property. So it basically started evolving from there when these places started asking me to do it on a larger level and teach people. Because after about 2 or 3 years, I'm like, wow, I'm waking up on a daily basis beating everybody to the good stuff, because I had developed 10 or 12 ways to get there. And then, like I said, it's blossomed from there up to, we just added 2 techniques in the last calendar year. So we're up to 34 now. So that's kind of the evolution. So at first I was just doing the same thing that most everybody does. And I just quickly realized that if I want to get better deals, better equity, that I better work a lot harder on the off-market lead generation aspect of my business.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. So without giving away all your secret sauce, which would be pretty tough to do in a 15-minute 15-minute interview, that's for sure.
That'd be extremely tough.
Exactly. Is there one of those 34 tactics that you use to find really good off-market deals that you feel comfortable sharing with our audience here?
Yeah,
I can picture overview of something they might not have thought about.
Yeah, sure. I'll lay a good one on your audience. So took me 11 years to figure out. We learned how to do free direct mail. So the biggest players in every city, okay, there's a common denominator. So when we get hired to enter a city and start averaging 30 or 40 homes a month, 50 homes a month for a big company, the biggest players in town that are their perceived competition do a lot of direct mail, and they spend 5, 10, 15, 20 grand a month because direct mail works. People respond to direct mail, and I would say you never stop mailing, you never stop closing deals, right? So after about 11 years of tweaking it, for these larger companies, I'm like, okay, I got our mailings down to 29 cents, and that was pretty good. It took me a while to do that, but still not zero, right? So where our competition spending 50 to 60 cents per item, we were down to 29 cents, which is pretty good. So here's what I developed over time and then started perfecting it. So here it's typically common knowledge for most investors here in the US that you get value packs in the mail. So there's a company called Valpak, and you open up that envelope and it's loaded with 60, 70, let's say 72 different local people that are marketing to you for the area. So it's a bunch of coupons. Hey, we'll clean one room for you, clean carpet in one room, you get the next room free, right? Buy one pizza, get one pizza free. So
I've got an example of something like that.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, just blast from the past, my friend.
There you go.
This is something we did years ago called doorknob ads.
There you go. Yeah, right.
On the front door of every house in town, kind of thing. So,
so here's what we started playing around with. So had a few people on our team when we started reaching out to them, because I always say, how lazy is this technique? The Valpak comes to you in the mail. You didn't have to start your car. And so what we started doing was this. We like this large 6x9 postcards. And like I said, we got the cost down to 29 cents, which is pretty good, but still not zero. So what we did is we spent months kind of going through the ebbs and flows of how do we talk to these people and see how we strike a deal with them. So what we came up with was you rip that open as an investor, you call all 70 of them.
Oh, and you're talking about the advertisers in the Valpak.
In the Valpak. And you simply say, hey, instead of being one of 72 that needs to be opened to be seen, would you like to be one of 4 on the back of our 6x9 postcard for as little as 6 cents, 7 cents? And all you need is 4 of them that say yes. You don't have to ask them, hey, are you doing direct mail? It's in your hand because it came to you in the mail, right? And so what we did is we sent it to our mail house, and they worked it up, sent it back to the people that said, yeah, be interested. I'd rather compete against 4 people than 72 and not have to be open. And once we did that, we're in 30,000 mailboxes, 40,000 mailboxes for free.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So think about this. Mm-hmm. The biggest players in every city that close a lot of deals do a lot of direct mail, and they take comfort in the fact when they go to sleep at night going, yeah, regular investors aren't going to spend 15 grand a month on direct mail, so we're going to keep closing those deals. But then when we set that up as one of our 34 techniques and teach people the verbiage and how we do it, send it over to a mail house, they'll do the mock-up for you to send back to people. So we handle all that, right? Now all of a sudden you can compete with the biggest players in town, and it doesn't cost you anything from your bank account. So that's one technique for sure that when we're laying a 34 level blanket to suffocate a city, the free direct mail is one of the really good ones that get the phone to ring immediately.
That's a fascinating idea. Hold that thought for a second. Hi there, this is Dave Dubeau, and real estate investors hire me to raise capital the right way. Why? Because most of them are stuck with too small of a portfolio, and they don't know how to attract investors and raise money for their deals. So I help them to connect, capture, and close their ideal money partners. Bottom line, when you've got a deal, you're going to have the capital to do it. So go ahead and book a no-cost capital clarity session with me at bookachatwithdave.com. Again, that's bookachatwithdave.com. That is very, very smart. So basically, you're renting out the back of your postcard. You're getting the whole front of that 6x9 postcard. The other guys are getting 1/4 of the back, which is still a great deal for them compared to what they're paying with Valpak and way less competition. And then that way you just kind of ka-chunk. I imagine you've got a variety of different postcards that you're sending out month to month, zip code to zip code kind of thing.
Yeah. And I always tell everybody, would you ever quit free? If once it's set up and the machine's running, like now the biggest players in your city feel you overnight and they can't stop you. And that's just one way, obviously.
One of your 34 tools in the toolbox kind of thing. So
yeah.
So if I'm just going to play devil's advocate here for a second, Jason. So let's say I'm a mom and pop real estate investor in medium-sized city, Midwest USA. All right.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, that sounds really, really interesting. But it sounds like this guy's, talking about working with these really big, heavy hitter kind of investors to suffocate a city. What are you typically recommending for the mom and pop that's just kind of, doesn't have a huge budget, perhaps is doing real estate investing part-time? How many of these things realistically can a person get up and running, and what kind of a budget should people be looking at to get started?
Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. So a lot of times when people run across our organization, they're referred to us or on a podcast here, and they're like, his company couldn't deal with me. I'm just a little old mom and pop shop, right? So 5 years ago, we started doing this for individuals. We built it to where you can go at your own pace. So from I'll say it to you this way, 5 years of doing this, I have maybe 10 we train about 100, 120 people a year, and then we shut it down. We don't train everybody. And so I would say maybe 10 to 15 have done all 30-something techniques. It's not necessary. So I would say from a mom and pop or an individual, what we do is we have a thing called the perfect day. We know any day you wake up and grab a coffee, we're doing this in 130 plus cities. Do this first every day. Copy this, paste it. It takes you 7 minutes. So we have a perfect day. Say, hey, you can get this done in 2 hours. This doesn't take some big company to penetrate your market. You can do this as a single investor. But run through a perfect day, because any day you grab a coffee, we're already doing it in 130 cities, closing deals. We know what you need to do. But inside that perfect day, it says one crystal clear thing: work on one new technique at a time. So it's exciting to have 34 ways where most investors only know 5. But if you think you're going to implement all of them, it's just unrealistic, like why you asked the question, right? Mm-hmm. So the answer is this. I would tell you that if you take just 3 or 4 or 5 of some of the things that we teach you, you can hit every income and acquisition benchmark that you want. You don't need all 30-something. You cherry pick and pick the ones you want. And then secondly, from a budget standpoint, to that part of your question is this. 18 of the 34 techniques we teach you are free, meaning we just need to teach you how we execute it, and it produces people raising their hand. You write a contract, close the deal. It doesn't impact your bank account. So I always tell everybody, I'm like, hey, when we're done, if you can simply just set aside anywhere from as little as $200 a month to $500 max, that's easy for us to say, hey, we can increase your number of acquisitions by 2, 3, 4, 5 a month. Where, we take phone calls saying, hey, we want to schedule a blueprint with you because I'm spending on the marketing side of my business $2,500 to $4,000 to close a deal. And maybe that deal averages them 20 grand or 25 grand. So they'll never stop that. That's easy math. But we can show them how to do it for like 1/10 of what they're doing.
Or just add on, just put everything on steroids. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So very rare that somebody hits all of them. I would tell you, if you followed our perfect day and you worked on one at a time, we say, hey, when one's running, some of them take you 20 minutes and they're up and running and they produce deals. Some of them, you'll work on it for 2 or 3 days inside your perfect day, work on it 30, 40 minutes at a time, then set it down. Then that one's running, right? So fast forward 8, 9 weeks, you easily could have 10 more tentacles out into the marketplace, just clawing and grabbing deals that typically you wouldn't get. And quite frankly, when most investors do high equity, absentee owner list, buy a vacant list, try and get code violations, water disconnects, and they do postcards and send some text messages, which is what most people do. Mm-hmm. We're going to teach you some techniques that most investors don't even know exist to play in that sandbox where homeowners need your help. So there's little to no competition once you implement some of those. And that's what typically a blueprint client does, is that they're like, oh, I'm doing this one next week, because no one I've ever shaken hands with has even heard of this. And you just, blessed my eyeballs and ears with it for the first time. I'm going to do this next week because I know, without even doing it yet, they're like, I know I don't have any competition.
Very cool. So Jason, what would you, with your experience, what would you say is probably the minimum sized viable market for this stuff to work in? I'm sure any size market, some of it's going to work, but what's kind of the minimum size viable market for somebody to make a good full-time income from in real estate investing, applying these marketing techniques that you're teaching?
Well, you kind of mentioned it there. The market doesn't. I'll answer two ways. The marketplace doesn't matter for me. Sometimes these companies, these bigger ones that hire us, they'll do it in big metropolis, and where everybody's like, man, there's so much competition. Yet when we come in and build a blueprint, we hit every benchmark that they want, right? But then when you scale it down to a smaller city, my wife and I were just looking up metrics here, since we're in Breckenridge right now, and then we looked over Frisco, and these are smaller towns with 4,000 people, 5,000 people. So there's not as many opportunities there. But I would tell anybody that listens and listens to this that any city that's 10,000, 15,000 or more, that's still considered a small market.
Yeah.
Some of these techniques out of 34, obviously these techniques aren't human, right? They don't care about market size, saturation, no saturation, demographics. The techniques get the people, no matter if the city's big or small, that need help to raise their hand. So really you could deploy it anywhere. But I would tell you, any marketplace that's 15,000 strong or more, then you could hit every, at that size, just doing 4 or 5 of our 34 techniques. You can hit any income benchmark that you want to hit, 6 figures. Our average contract that we write, we buy and hold, and we cherry pick, and my wife does Airbnb on those. Mm-hmm. We'll flip some, but 50, 60, 70% of the time in any calendar year, we'll write a contract and sell the contract. We average anywhere from 18 to 22, 23,000 per contract on those. So let's say somebody wants to make $100,000 with what we teach you to put in place. That's 4 or 5 deals. That's like breathing to me.
Awesome. Jason, this has been fantastic. If people want to find out more about you and what you're up to and your blueprints, what should they do?
You can go to our website, and you can also shoot me an email if you'd like. We'll send you over information. Our website is the number 2 dayblueprint.com. So the number 2 dayblueprint.com, or you can shoot me an email and ask me for information. And that's jason@gocjason.com. Pretty simple.
Beautiful. Jason, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. I always love talking about marketing stuff and love that strategy you got there with the postcards. That's very, very smart.
Cool. I'm glad to be here. Hope I can help.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.